There is JohnBerry555 and welcome to my 10-part miniseries where I'm going to be reviewing the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers, which was created by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks. So a quick overview real quick. The Band of Brothers follows E Company or EZ Company of the 505th, I believe, Parachute Infantry Division of the 101st Airborne. Not 505th, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division. Have some notes here so that way so I can check this stuff up, make sure I got everything correct. But yeah, it follows their adventures from basically their training all the way to being sent home. So we're going to start off with part 1, episode Kira Hay, and we're going to end up with part 10 points. So expect that this is going to be one episode a week, so this is going to be a 10-week long miniseries for me. And today we're going to be finishing up my review of Band of Brothers with episode 10, which is called part 10 points. So this is at the very end. They capture the Eagle's Nest, which is basically which is Hitler's headquarters in Berchtesgaden. They find a bunch of liquor in Hermann Göring's house, and of course Winters is allowing them to celebrate doing all this. They were doing occupation duty in Austria, and Winters actually does apply for a transfer to the Pacific Theater, but he gets denied kind of because the Austrian charge like, your men need you still here. You keep around your own men, which is kind of a weird way of saying we don't want you. But that is kind of a thing. Relatively Strasbourg, but men do continue to be injured and die. In fact, they show one where a relatively jumpy new recruit. That was it earlier on. I didn't talk about. But basically, a drunk soldier kills an officer. Yeah. Well, actually, he doesn't kill, shoots an officer. Thankfully, this officer was well respected by Easy Company's men. So what they do is they find a German neurosurgeon or brain surgeon in the town, or Austrian, I should say, not German, and ask him, he needs help and we don't have the resources. And thankfully he does survive. And that's, I think, what prevents Easy Company from killing this drunk soldier who did the shooting. And I don't know who is named, some private, not a member of Easy Company, of course. And Easy Company basically goes on a manhunt for this dude, this drunk dude. And I think the fact that they left the fact that they got help for the officer who was shot, that they respected, that allowed Easy Company to, in a way, they did beat the guy up, but enough of their anger had been released, and hearing that the guy survived, probably saved that soldier's life. He was drunk, made a stupid decision, and all that. But yeah, and actually, this is why, giving drunk people access to guns is a bad idea. Yeah, and actually, young, drunk, stupid behavior occurs. Yeah, actually, kind of a sort of gun control message thrown into here. Very subtle, of course, but yeah. Not everyone should have a gun. If they can't be trusted, they should have a gun. Seems pretty reasonable to me. But also, they get but there's also, fun stuff. A company baseball game. And also they're talking about how they found ways, especially those who have been there, to transfer them home, get them transferred home. Like, there's one they're doing, this is a publicity tour. They need somebody to, keep things accurate, per se. Like, they found very sort of ways of transferring people, either, if not stateside, to maybe France or London or someplace outside, someplace better, to get them closer to be able to get home. And I just found out that kind of, charming, endearing even. They're doing whatever they can to see, these people need to get home early, so these people need to get home, they don't have enough points, so what can we do to help them get to that point? There's actually one point where a general authorizes a lottery where men who were within 10 points of being sent home but not quite yet could go in for a lottery. May not have been 10 points, but basically a lottery both Jews, one soldier should get sent home. There was another soldier like, we're recommending you for a field commission, but because of that, you have to be sent someplace else, army policy and all that. And we can so tell that they're just finding any way possible to help their comrades, the band of brothers, help each other find their way back home, back to their family and friends that they hadn't seen in years. Sure, their band of brothers friends, their band of brothers, they will still mean something to each other. But they want them, helping them get home to their family, get out of the war situation. And also, thankfully, they do avoid also being shipped out to the Pacific, which was looking like that was going to happen. But thankfully, they avoided that. And yeah, and actually, it's during that, one of the activities they get to do, a baseball game, that's when the surrender of Japan is announced that they're not going to the Pacific. But yeah, this episode is really about them kind of dealing with the war is essentially over, but it's not over. They're not home yet. They deserve to be home, but they just don't have the right points. That's the heart of this episode, them struggling. And this is, of course, all told through Winter's perspective, as he's finding ways, however he can, to help them get sent home, or help them deal with being in this situation. That's the heart of this episode. In a way, some ways, it's all about the band of brothers being disbanded. But this bond, while it's not is shown, remains. They're helping each other get home however they can, because they care about each other. They want them to see their brothers, their sisters, their fathers, their mothers. They want them home with their families again. So they're looking for ways not to send them home. Sure, they may be a band of brothers and will miss each other, but they care so much they're willing to do that. That's, I think, the heart and why they're a band of brothers. Also, there's another thing I would like to talk about. I want to talk about how this episode relates to the ending of MASH. I mean, it does in some ways. The end of MASH was a 2.5 hour long movie, pretty much. Goodbye, farewell, amen. And we see a bunch of characters who have formed a bond during war, having to say goodbye to each other as they're sent home at the end. Very similar situation. The point situation was still used in Korea, and that's brought up a couple times in MASH, too. In fact, there's one that, granted, they played more fast and loose because Howard and Goodbye for Amen, BJ get more points quicker than Hawkeye, who's been there longer. And all that, it's like, what? That doesn't make sense from how the point system works, to my understanding. But that's not the point of the episode. The point of the episode is just showing how a bunch of people who grew to kill each other, them having to separate at the end of the war. That's the same thread in both of these. They're done differently. In MASH, it's the characters having to say goodbye and struggling with that goodbye, as they all want to get home to their friends and family back in the States, but they're struggling to say goodbye to their newfound friends and family. Essentially, they're a band of brothers, if you will. But in Band of Brothers, it's a different scenario, or different emotions are being invoked. It's not so much that these characters in Band of Brothers are struggling to say goodbye to each other. Sure, there is some of that, but it's them struggling to help each other get home. The goodbye part's the easy part. It's the how can we get you home is the hard part. Similar premise, and war is over, time to go home. But it's what emotions are being addressed. MASH addresses the characters having to say goodbye and dealing with that. Essentially, like, what if that bond doesn't continue afterwards? How can we say goodbye? Meanwhile, in Band of Brothers, that bond is implied to still be there, and they're willing to put that bond at risk to help their brothers get home to their friends and family back in the States. That's the difference between the two, and both are equally important and equally emotional. They tug on the emotional heartstrings just differently enough that they're distinct, they're different, but there's that same current of that it's time for it's time to end. Not in the same way, but the end is here, the war is over, things need to start getting back to normal. That's the same ending being implied in terms of the lives of the characters. Time to go home. That's the thing that's same. But what emotions they're trying to evoke out of us in the audience, that's what's different. So thank you for watching this review. That concludes my review of all 10 parts of Band of Brothers. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to to go back and watch it if you missed any of the parts, and feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and also I would love to hear from you. Let me know, what did you think of points down below? I would really love to hear your thoughts on it. And also, just let me know your thoughts on Bane & Brothers as a whole. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to my rewatch of it. Well, rewatch of it all but one part. Just because I wish I had said that. Actually, I did say it in part 9, that review. But I don't know if I can ever rewatch that part anytime soon. Just too much emotion. And I guess top about otherwise I'll get in that emotional heartstring again, and I probably won't be able to finish my video properly. Yeah, but that's just how emotional recording that was. So I would again like to say thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Have a good one.